Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of Front Row at Indigo. My name is Jeremy Cammey. I am responsible for events, and we are going to be hosting none other than the queen of skating, Tessa Virtue. Let's bring her in. Let's see if this works. We're waiting for Tessa right now. The power and technology. Hey!
Hi,
How's life?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jeremy?
No complaints. Look at us. Now, first question, Tessa, before we start. It's Friday. Tell me, please, I hope you danced at some point today.
Oh, I've been dancing all day. Ever since I met you, I've been taking that very seriously, the on Fridays we dance.
So even before I give you an introduction, we should probably go back to 2018 and not the Olympics. The fact that when I was on tour with you and we did a number of book signings in many stores across the country, and I interviewed you, and on one of the occasions, we happened to have danced in the back room, and then we posted it on Instagram, and we basically broke the internet.
We did. You're my favorite account to follow for that reason because you're always so creative. You bring so much joy to so many people through your dance routines.
You are very kind, and I know that you were thinking of majoring in ballet. You didn't, but I think we're cut from the same cloth because we both dance extremely well.
That's absolutely true. You're a great partner. I'll say that.
So let me give you a proper introduction, and there's way too many on this list, and I'm gonna read it off, and you're just gonna listen and hopefully smile. And there's a lot that I'm missing.
I'll
So
stay.
yeah, because we only have a half hour. 4-time world championships, 3 4-continent championships, 9-time Canadian championships, 6 Skate Canada international titles, and highest total score in ice dancing. 2010 Olympic gold, 2014 2 silver, 2018 2 gold, highest total score in ice dancing, flag bearer in 2018, member of Canada's Walk of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, and most recently, I'm telling you, I'm just going to say this because my heart bleeds a little bit because you're so generous. You recently, as of just, I think, last week, donated 1,000 plus meals to healthcare workers in the greater Vancouver area. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't do
The
that
rest,
all.
check Wikipedia. I don't know about the rest, but
No, no, that's right.
just,
Yeah. But this whole pandemic has got to me. I think it's definitely got to you also because knowing you for the past few years, I feel as though you ooze empathy. Is that true? You always are placing yourself in somebody else's shoes. Is that innate? Were you born with that quality?
thank you. That's so kind. I think so. I mean, I think I was surrounded by a lot of really compassionate people, a lot of people who were considerate and empathetic and conscious of, you know, stepping outside of their own personal bubble and seeing how their actions or how someone else might feel. And so that's just sort of how I was raised.
So speak to me about the current pandemic. First and foremost, you're safe, you're healthy. I'm assuming that those around your bubble are also safe and healthy.
Yes, yeah, I've had two friends who suffered through Corona but have come out the other side and are healthy now, and everyone else has been managing quite well. Yeah, and how about you on your end?
No complaints. Family is good. You know, we've been stuck at home now for 10 weeks. There's never any fighting, not at all. Whereas, like Beaver Cleaver family, and I know that you're an animal lover, and my dog Redford happens to be sitting literally right beside me and won't move. I don't know whether it's because he knows it's you, but
Can you make
he's
an appearance?
pardon?
Can you make an appearance here? Can I see him?
Yeah, I can. You'll have to stare at literally this bookcase for about a nanosecond so I can get him, and then I'll be right back if that's what you really want.
Okay, oh, it's well
Okay.
worth the wait.
Yeah,
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 come on, Redford, make your Instagram debut.
that's right. So this is Redford.
Hi. Oh, look at him.
Yeah. So all he wants is either he wants to sleep or go outside, but he's loving it because we have him every day, 24 hours a day. So I think he's thinking to himself, either get out of my house, leave me alone, or walk me all the time.
Well, are you concerned about what happens when you're on the other side of this and how you'll ever leave the house?
Yeah,
Without
I'm very concerned.
anxiety.
Yeah. And it reaffirms my belief that everyone at some point, if they can, should have any pet. This right here, that is unconditional love.
It's the best, isn't it?
Oh my God. Like you wouldn't believe. It's every day you wake up and it's a joy, right?
Yeah, and coming home and that's the nicest feeling. Or just staying, I guess, in your case right now.
That's right. So talk to me a little bit. We have this great book, Tessa and Scott, from 2018. It's going to be backwards, but I'm going to hold it up just because. So that's the backwards edition, but inside, everyone should know, it has the most beautiful pictures, phenomenal writing. Obviously, this is living history. I have to ask you, Tessa, does it ever get old? Is there ever a day that you wake up and you completely forget or blank out or just say to yourself, the Olympics, skating championships, whatever. Like, how is it possible that you can live every day knowing what you have accomplished?
I don't think it ever becomes sort of that blasé notion of what we accomplished, but I do sometimes feel dissociated from the person and the team that accomplished those goals. It's sometimes hard to put myself back into that mindset that we were in, you know, especially in those 2 years leading into Pyeongchang, but I suppose really 22 years leading up to that, just that structured discipline, that rigorous training schedule. Sometimes I do find it hard to remember what that felt like. You know, selective memory is a beautiful thing because I can remember the high and I can remember the podium. I can remember the feeling of skating Moulin Rouge, but I do challenge myself often to go back to those days, 6 a.m. in a freezing cold rink, injured, sick, tired, whatever it was, and think about what it was that got us through that and what was that driving force. And it seemed like we were chasing something really significant and meaningful.
I love how I have a whole list of questions here, but you and I seem to always go off. And quite frankly, I love it. I didn't think you were going to mention Moulin Rouge, but I'm going to go there because you did. So we're going there. So Roxanne and that entire dance. How does that happen? Is there a meeting? Because I'm trying to get inside your mind. And I'm sure everyone watching wants to do the same. Are you sitting in a room and there's songs that are being thrown around and everyone's trying to determine, okay, what works, what doesn't, what's unique, what's original, what moves will be perfect for this type of beat? How does it work?
Yeah, a lot of those kinds of conversations, and especially in the lead up to that particular season. Of course, coming into an Olympic Games, everyone wants a bit of your journey. Like everyone wants to feel like they're part of it. So we got inundated with messages and advice from people about what we should skate to. And it should be dramatic, but it should have people smiling. It should have people in tears, but it should be, you know, something never done before in the history of the sport, but recognizable. And so there were so many confounding messages as we were trying to sift through, you know, our repertoire of music. And Scott actually came to me with the Moulin Rouge idea. And he said, you know, crazy as it seems, I think it ticks all the boxes. It does have the drama, it has romance, it has passion. But there's also just an element to the music that is raw and easy to get into with the layers and the nuances of the musicality.
Also, I feel that, and I don't have a theater background, but I love performing. I feel like even the costumes, like this is whole, it's holistic. It's all the pieces have to fit together in order to make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's and that was sort of our approach. The last 2 years of our career, it was holistic in every way. Every member of our team, whether it was our nutritionist or our strength and conditioning coach, our honest coaches, our costume designer, they were always in constant communication. And the whole goal was just to set us up to be the best in that one moment. And you're right, costuming plays such a role, especially in ice dance.
I want to go back to a comment that you made, and I think in an interview, and I think you probably said it before. And I feel that it's appropriate now because of what everyone is going through. It is very easy for our mind to go to a very dark place, especially during a pandemic, and especially now trying to determine how we're going to get out of this. Finance, family, career. You said in an interview that when you pass the judges before skating, sometimes you have a fear that you're going to fall. Even though you've never fallen, when you're skating, you have a fear that you're going to fall. Where does that come from? How does that manifest? And is that nerves? Is it an instantaneous reaction that I'm not good enough? Because I want to go back to what you said in 2010. You recently posted your journal entry from 2010 on your Instagram account. And you're probably looking at me saying, boy, this guy should be on 60 Minutes. He really does his research. So
I love it.
So in 2010, I'm quoting you. You wrote, I am now realizing it's not just about being here. It's about winning. I want to win more than anything. I have a job to do. I deserve to be here. I am the best. Try to remember that. Now, I want to let everyone out there should know, this is not self-satisfying. This is not an ego play. You are actually trying to reaffirm and being your own coach by writing this down. So A, this journal, was it cathartic? And B, if you say you're the best, why does your mind still go to that dark place that you may fall in front of the judges?
Yeah, I think so much of that is the flight or fight instinct that kicks in times of stress or pressure. And you referenced this pandemic. I think it's so easy for our brains to panic and quickly go to the negative and catastrophize. And it can be mounting and overwhelming and ever so daunting. And our brain asks questions when it wants to protect us, when it thinks that we're going to be in pain, or when it thinks that we're approaching a situation that might endanger or put us in danger. And it asks questions. And sometimes it's just about quieting the noise. So for me, it was a mantra, or looking at Scott squeezing his hand, feeling like we could reflect on our preparation. I mean, there's so many things you can do, calm your breathing, to be present in the moment. But every instinct wants to put you elsewhere and wants to question your value and your worth. And I think that's important to note. I mean, even when we were the best in the world, when we had won the Olympics and coming off of the 2018 games and we were on tour, I would still step on the ice and sometimes feel like I was an imposter. And sometimes think, will people figure out that I'm faking this? And I know that that's a real syndrome that a lot of people have despite success. But it's good to talk about because, you know, it's refreshing to know that other people also have doubts and fears. And I think what fascinates me most about humans is how resilient we are and how you can find a way to push through. You can find a way to, I don't know if that's the grit or just sheer determination, to overcome that. And ultimately, that's where the pride comes in.
So talk to us again, and I'm going to divert again in a set of questions that are not prepared because I knew this was going to happen. You talk about resilience. You talk about grit. You are an Olympian. You're a gold medalist, and I'll say that in the present, you are a gold medalist, and I think you always will be. What do you say to your fellow athletes that will not be competing this year in the Summer Olympics? So when you look back, you trained 4 years, 8 years, 12 years for that moment. As an athlete, I'm not going to use the word destructive. I'm actually going to speak to the psyche. And I know that in school, in university, your major was psychology. What do you say to your fellow athletes when they've been preparing for this moment for 4 years, and now it's another year away, if they even qualify?
Right. My heart just breaks for them for so many reasons, because you're right. I mean, you're planning to peak at a certain moment, and it's so scientific, and that's mentally, emotionally, physically. There are so many factors that go into setting yourself up for that moment. But I have no doubt that our Canadian athletes will rally and rise to the occasion whenever that may be, because it's ingrained in us as athletes to adapt. And part of success is preparing for the unknown. And that will be so evident. I think the athletes that I've spoken to have really been able to reframe this and use it to their advantage. Somehow they've been able to construct a narrative that makes it feel like this extra time, you know, I can recover from an injury, I can set myself up differently, I'm going to be even better when the time comes. And I mean, I'm in awe of that ability to reframe, but I think it's also just so necessary when you're pushing day in and day out for the Olympics.
Was that your thought process back in 2008 with your first surgery? Did you say to yourself, okay, I've had surgery, I'm going to bounce back? Obviously you did because of the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. But was that going through your mind, or was there a fear of, will I be able to skate again?
I mean, the fear was there, no doubt, but it was also an opportunity to slow down and work on the things that I wasn't able to when we were just full steam ahead training. It was a forced break to visualize, to work on certain dance movements, to well, after the second surgery, to work on our partnership. You know, it did offer an opportunity for growth, and that was unforeseen, and it was something that our competitors didn't have, but in the end, it really did serve us.
So if you could go, have you seen Back to the Future?
No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
She hasn't seen Back to the Future. No, yeah, she's won a lot of medals. No Back to the Future. I'm talking to all the neighbors outside.
I'll work on that.
Okay, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. They're still giving you the thumbs up.
Okay.
Let's hypothetically say we can take that DeLorean, and after this, I'd like you to watch all three of them. Then you'll let me know how it went. If we could go back in that DeLorean, we can go back in time. Where would you want to go back in time? Would it be your younger self? Would it be a time where there was a fear of failure and you lost? Where would you like to go? Would you like to go, and would it be to redo a moment? Would it be a teachable moment?
That's such a good question. It's such a good question because I think most often when people are asked this question, they say, I wouldn't change anything because it got me to this point, right? I think that's across the board, the general feeling. And in a lot of ways, I feel that when you first asked that question, part of me wanted to go back to Pyeongchang just to relive that. But that seems a little egotistical.
No, but I'm sorry, I'm stopping you. I'm going to stop you. You're a flag bearer. Best performances of your life, obviously, some say. I mean, that to be able to relive that moment again, how beautiful is that? Like, here's an example, Tessa. What is it like standing on a podium and hearing the national anthem?
That's the best feeling because, well, it's just the two of us standing on the podium. Singing the national anthem brings everyone else into it. And it always was a moment for us where we were able to reflect on all of the people who helped us achieve our goals. That's the best feeling. And also just, I mean, as a Canadian, there's no better feeling than knowing what the Maple Leaf represents and who we are as Canadians.
You are so fortunate, and you've worked for it, but you are so fortunate to have toured our great country and the world. And I want to bring it back to Canada, considering that's what I'm wearing. And I've got the gold lapel for your gold medal. So,
you know what? I texted you before this to say, what's our attire? What look are we going for here? I should have met you.
Don't tell people you texted. Then they're going to think we're actually friends. We don't want to see it. What is it about this country? Because I interviewed you a couple of years ago and you actually got emotional when I asked you about Canada and the fact that I don't think you really realize the profound effect that you've had on this country, on people in general, on a younger generation who is looking up to you, on women. You are powerful, you are resilient, you are strong, you are everything that we would like to identify with. So what is it about this country that you love so much? And I know that you've been everywhere.
You're right. That does feel fortunate to me. The fact that we've been able to tour and perform, but just actually get to know the different corners of this country has been such a privilege. It's the people. It's the fact that when you're in St. John's, you know that you could knock on anyone's door and they would welcome you in with open arms. It's the sense that when you're in the prairies, the pride that they take provincially in their land, in their sports teams. You know, it's when you're out in BC and people are smiling and waving at you on the street. Like, it's just the people. And I think it's the fact that we're courteous and polite and socially conscious of one another. It's not the same kind of individualist thinking. but it's this sense of community, coast to coast. I mean, there might be a lot of land to cover, but I feel constantly so united with my fellow Canadians.
True. And for those folks just joining us, we're talking with Tessa Virtue. If you don't know who she is, maybe you're in the wrong channel. Look her up. Of all of your accomplishments, I actually think that Barbie Tea is really, really, really close to your heart. So much so that you have actually Instagrammed about her a few times. Tell us about Barbie Tea and the fact that you have been immortalized, so to speak.
Well, the way that came about was amazing because there were 20 women all across the world in different careers who were celebrated in the Barbie Shiro collection. And so I was able to see Barbie Tea alongside all of these other incredible women who were blazing trails and empowering others and serving as such inspiration that it was almost surreal. I'm not sure that it's even sunk in for me yet. And it was really emotional. I mean, my mom was proud when, you know, we won the Olympics, but seeing her face when I got to tell her that they were making a Barbie was just the best thing ever, because she grew up, you know, as an only child, and Barbies were her way of learning that imaginative play. And, you know, she was sewing outfits for the Barbies. And so they were just like, there was so much history there that I knew. And, just the other day, my oldest brother sent me a photo of my 6-year-old niece playing with Barbie Tea. And she was just kind of lost in thought. And I wondered, you know, what she was thinking and how she was seeing herself through Barbie, because Barbie really can do anything. And I just think that's a beautiful message for young girls.
We have a Barbie Tea in the house also.
You do? Oh.
Well, I also have a very large Smurf collection, but that's a different story altogether.
We need like a doll dancing beside her, little Jenny.
We'll dance together with the dolls.
That's nice for us.
Talk to me about, this is a great interview. Talk to me about the power of music. And again, I'm going to go back to 2010. You talk about that the song that's pumping you up is Rihanna. That's the song of the moment. Music, to me, is medicine. And I feel that you're the same way. Even recently, with the Arkells, I know that you and I think Max have a good friendship, and I've seen him perform, and he's fantastic. And boy, is he doing great things every day during this pandemic. The power of music, and I know that you perform to the Rolling Stones, the Eagles, Santana. Just in general, what's on your playlist? What motivates you?
It changes. One thing, you know, throughout this whole quarantine process that I've gotten back to are dance classes. And you know, I thought maybe that when I wasn't skating that wouldn't be as prevalent in my life. And yet now I realize it can be, just that freedom of movement. And so it's been fun to play around with, you know, things like the cha-cha or contemporary hip hop, whatever it may be. You know what I can't get off my playlist right now, though? I just on repeat, I'm just listening to that Stand By Me with all the Canadian artists.
Oh, and you know what? I just interviewed Jan Arden a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I love
she was also featured on that. Yeah, beautiful.
I just think that's the most powerful, uplifting song.
It's a phenomenal tune.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you some interesting questions that I think people would want to know but never had a chance to ask an athlete, and especially you. So there's a few, and then we're going to go into a little bit of an interview process, because I know that you really like books and you like bookstores, and you actually damaged one of our signs. So we'll talk about that in a second. Remember when you tried to hand sell?
I was hoping that would come up.
Don't worry. It's fine. The last piece of advice a coach gives you before you go on the ice?
Trust yourself.
Interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just dive into that quickly, because our coach would say, when the music starts, you know what to do. And that was just the perfect sentiment.
Is there a mantra or a phrase that you keep repeating to yourself as you're skating around, waiting to go on?
Most recently, it was "We're Unstoppable."
Love that one. Do you hear the crowd roaring? Does that because sometimes they say the loneliest place is on the pitching mound. All by yourself, you got to throw the ball, and you have 8 fielders who have to combine together and work as a team. Sometimes they hear the crowd, sometimes they don't. Do you hear the crowd?
Sometimes. And
really?
I can only imagine how lonely that is. If I didn't have Scott, I mean, I just think that's the most vulnerable place to be when you put yourself out there that way. Sometimes, yes. In my junior days, I would thrive off of that crowd noise, and I liked picking people out of the audience and really connecting. And then I think as the pressure began to build and we got into the senior ranks, I began to block all of that out, and I would only notice Scott. And in 2010, I remember skating the compulsory dance, where everyone does the same steps. Basically, all 24 teams did the exact same steps and patterns, and we were close to the end to perform. And partway through the first or second pattern, I forget which one, Scott yelled at me, "Listen to the music," because the crowd was so loud. Never before had anyone been screaming for a tango romantica that loudly. But in Pyeongchang, I heard the noise. It was electric, and it felt like an arena full of Canadians.
And then you have your own downtime. And during your downtime, I can only imagine you have mentioned on more than one occasion your love for literature and your love for books. And I'm assuming that you're reading all the time, even posting Barbie Tea and asking people what they're reading. Where does that love of reading come from?
I think just this desire to learn. I'm so curious about everything. And I think it's such a beautiful thing when an author can bring you into a story and fill your imagination, and you can create this whole world in your head. You can totally escape. And I mean, I just think that's the most incredible outlet, and then the most incredible gift to ever be given, really.
Is a book.
I think, yes. Yeah, that story.
You have referred and referenced bookstores as your natural habitat. True or false?
Yes, but only Indigo.
Okay, thanks. Not prompted at all. And you have a loyalty card. And if you don't have a loyalty card, we'll get you one. Plum and Plum Plus. Let's pretend for a second that I have your resume. So we'll pretend for a second that you're applying to work at a bookstore.
Okay.
Yeah, because you did hand sell, and you have a video on YouTube that I think has been seen over 150,000 times. You were in Chapters Chinook, I think.
They were about that?
I know, yeah.
Nice.
They were nice, but you broke one of our signs. But forget it. Don't worry. Yeah, it's fine about that. All right, so I'm the manager, and you're coming in for an interview. So here we go. Oh, Tessa, this is a very good interview. Oh, you've won some gold medals. That's really nice. Great.
I see you have no actual workplace experience.
So, Tessa, I'll just check this. So do you work better individually or as a team?
Definitely as a team. I think one of my skill sets, one of my strongest skills is empowering others and bringing out the best in those around me.
Very, very good answer. Describe a situation in which you feel that you may have failed.
There was this instant at a bookstore, the Chinook location, and I failed the team. I failed the book lovers around me, sign makers everywhere. I just could have been better.
Okay, and finally, do you think that you thrive in highly stressful and sometimes high pressure environments?
I think I have a fairly good track record, yes.
All right, that was fun. Okay, you know what? Don't call us, we'll call you.
Oh, no. I've heard that before.
And finally, I have some fun would you rather questions.
Okay, bring it on.
And then one final question, which we're asking everyone that we're interviewing. But here we go first with would you rather. Would you rather watch a regular season game courtside or a playoff game from the rafters?
Playoff game.
It's always more exciting no matter where you're sitting, right? Yeah. All right. Would you rather be mascot for a day or be a Zamboni driver for a day?
Zamboni driver.
Yeah, how cool would that be?
So cool.
It's very cool. Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout?
Whisper.
Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather, I know that you're fashion savvy, would you rather have to dress in all bright orange or an all bright lime for the rest of your life?
Lime.
Oh, I was going to say orange, so it's fine. But if we walk down the street, man, that's going to be electric.
You can't win with that one.
Would you rather, a couple more, would you rather be able to see your own future or be able to see everyone else's future but your own?
Everyone else's.
And finally, would you rather get the hiccups every time you laugh or sneeze every time you're nervous?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you don't win.
So funny anyways, and that's a cycle for me. But
Yeah.
no matter if I have them, someone else has them, I think they're so funny. It's that laugh, hiccup thing. So I'm going to go with hiccups.
And last bonus question. Would you rather spend a week in the woods by yourself or one night in a haunted house by yourself?
Oh, the woods.
For sure.
I'm such a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
You too?
I am too. And finally, this has been so much fun. We realize in these difficult times that there is a huge group of students who are going to be having an unusual type of graduation this year, high school and post-secondary. What is your words of advice for the graduating class of 2020? The podium is yours.
Okay. To the graduating class of 2020. I imagine this doesn't feel like you expected it would, but know that COVID-19 does not define you. It does not define your journey. It is simply part of your story. And if I had any advice for you, it would be to use this as an opportunity for growth. Expect failure and embrace it, because I guarantee those moments will serve you better than any others. Find mentors. People want to see you succeed. And if you're willing to learn and if you're willing to grow and put in the work, people will flock to you and be really invested in your future and your success. Don't ever give up. Don't ever lose hope. Know your values. Know what you stand for, and trust that course, and find the blank space in the market and seize the opportunity. Make it your own, and know that, you know, we're all cheering for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the commencement speech of 2020. That was fantastic. We want to thank Tessa Virtue for those words of wisdom. And more importantly, we want all of you to stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, stay awesome. Tessa, I don't say this very often because I don't like to I don't like to bring my personal into the professional, but I've known you now for a few years, and I really do have to say that you are one of the most amazing humans I have ever known. You are so generous with your time. There is never a text message that has gone unanswered or a direct message. You have always been there. In the past few years, any time that this great company of Indigo has asked you to do something, you have never once said no. And to me, that is a true indication of a star. Take the gold medals aside. You are a star without that. The gold medals just happen to be the icing on the cake.
That's so kind. That your words mean so much to me, Jeremy. Thank you so much. And the pleasure and the privilege is all mine. I tell you that.
Thank you, Tessa. So now, since you never say no, we'll have to do a round two sometime in the future.
Exactly.
All right, perfect. We're all good to go. Tessa Virtue, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll do a dance. Yeah, no problem. No problem. We'll do a side-by-side TikTok.
Okay, yes.
All right. We got it. I'll text you. Bye, everybody. And
bye,
bye, Tessa Virtue. Buy your book. Buy the book. Go to indigo.ca. Bye.
Bye.